we're going to make a Python file with an image in the background of a GUI that takes up the whole space of the GUI, all right? So it's like the full area, the size of the GUI is going to be the same size as the image, okay? So if I go File, New, I'm in idle in Python, and I've created a new document here, and I'm just going to go File, Save As, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop, and I might as well call it Fullback IMG. I'm going to call it Fullback IMG. All right, so full background image .py, and I save it there to my desktop. Right, now because we're going to be using a GUI, we're going to use Tkinter. So the first thing I'm going to do is go import Tkinter as TK. That's the first thing. Now, because we're using an image, I want to use this thing called pill, right? So I'm going to say from pill import image, comma, image, capital T, lowercase k, right? Now, there's an important thing here. If you haven't got Pillow installed, this is not going to work. So to install Pillow, you would go to your terminal window. That's where you go down, you open up this one, this terminal window down here, and you would write in this line. I'm going to write in my Python file so that you can remember or you can see what it would be. You would say pip3 install Pillow, right? So that's the one that you're going to want to install, is you're going to install Pillow, right? If you don't install Pillow, then this pill.image tk won't work, right? So pip3 install Pillow, and that'll install it into your system, and you'd write that in here. I've already got it, so I'm not going to do it again, but essentially that's what you do. Install Pillow, and then, yeah, you're going to have your images working. Right, now we're going to make a simple a GUI, right? So we're going to start with window equals tk dot capital T small k brackets, and that'll make my little pop-up GUI window. And my window is going to have a geometry. We do this the same way every single time. So if you're not sure what I'm doing here, there's plenty of videos on my website about making a GUI window. 800 by 600. Okay, so here I've set the size of the GUI that I'm going to create. I'm going to create a window, and the geometry is going to be 800 by 600 pixels. So I really want an image that's going to be 800 by 600 pixels. But you don't always get images exactly like that. You get them at different sizes. So we're going to force this image to be the right size. Now, I went online, I got a picture of a background image. There it is. I have no idea what the proportions are. I don't know if it's 800 by 600, but that's just a JPEG background image, and that's what we're going to use. So let's start adding our background image, right? So let's just put in here background image, right? Just a little reminder there, that's what we're doing. And let's call it bg underscore image equals image with a capital I dot open, because that's calling this pill section up here, and we're going to open up our image, and our image, I've called it background JPEG. JPG, right? So there we go. First thing I've done is I've said go and find this image, and remember the image has to be saved next to your file. So you can see on my desktop, here is my image, and just here in the same section, the same folder, is my fullback image Python file that we've just created. Right, next one, let's go bg underscore image. So I'm changing this variable a little bit, equals bg image, which is the one we've just went and said go and get the background, and we're going to resize to exactly the same size as our canvas. And this is how we're making it the same size as the canvas, as the background. So what we're doing is saying, go and load the image here. We're going to call it background image. Then get that image and resize it to exactly 800 by 600. And this 800 by 600 is the same size as our canvas. So that way we're making it exactly the same size as the canvas, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to say we need to store that new thing somewhere. So let's go bg underscore photo equals image capital T lower k dot PHOTO image IMAGE, and this is where we put our variable IMAGE. This is where we put our variable name in, which is here BG image, right? So we go BG underscore image. Okay, so this one goes and gets the picture. This one resizes the picture. This one, BG photo, gets it ready for image TK using the photo image section, and says go and use this image for the photo image section. This one gets it ready to display it on the screen, all right? But you need to get the image and resize it first before you put it into photo image and say this is the image that we're going to put on the screen. So that's it, we've done it. Right, now we're going to put this on with what we're going to do is we're going to put a canvas on the screen, right? Rather than just use like pure Tkinter, we're going to put a Tkinter canvas on the screen. So let's put a canvas and say equals tk.canvas window. This is where it's going to be placed. It's going to be placed inside the window. And again, I'm going to tell it exactly the same size. 800, comma height. Equals 600. So imagine we've got a box, and our box is 800 by 600, but our box has got nothing in it, and we want to put an image inside of our box. So what we're doing first is we're putting a canvas in there so you can stick the image to the canvas. I suppose that's the easiest way, but we're making the canvas exactly the right size for the box. That's the way it's going to be. Right, now let's go canvas dot pack. This means put the canvas into the box. Essentially, we want the canvas to fill the box, and we want it to fill the box both ways, both the x-axis and the y-axis. We want it to fill the box, and if it has to expand it, let's say yes, you can expand it. Let's make that true. And you need to make sure your spelling's correct. Right, so now we've got our canvas. Now, it's pretty boring if I make for you just a boring window that pops up with a photo on it that doesn't do anything. So I'm going to put a few other things on there. I'm going to put a label on there. And I might as well put an entry box on there as well, where you can enter some information. And let's put a button on there as well. In fact, let's have a button that uses the entry information. So whatever you enter, when you click the button, it'll use that information, all right? So let's start off here, and the structure here is normally exactly the same. You do label, this is how I want it to be, and then you put it on the canvas. Then you do entry, this is how I want it to be, and you put it on the canvas. Then you do button, this is how I want it to be, and put it on the canvas. So let's do that. Label equals TK, capital label, in brackets. I want to put it in the window, and I want it to have on it some, the label, I want this label to have text, and the text is going to say, enter your name. Colon, close inverted commas, done that. Let's give it a font. And let's make the font equal to Arial. In fact, that should be in inverted commas. Arial. And let's make it 14 points, say, to start with. That's it. So I've created my label. Now I want to pack that label or put that label onto the canvas. So I'm going to say canvas.create underscore window. And let's put it at 200, 200, and let's say window equals label lowercase. Okay, so essentially that's going to put a little label onto my page if I spelt label correctly at the start. There we go, label, canvas, create window. Okay, so that should be right. Now I want to do the same with an entry box. Let's go entry equals TK entry. So you'll see the pattern is pretty much the same. Capital on the letter for the TK item. We put it in a window. Then for this one, it's going to be an open empty box. So I don't need any text in here, but I still want to have what font is written in there. So I'm just going to copy that from there, Command C. And I'm going to put that in here. So that's the font that will be used inside that entry box window. This is where you type something in. Now we want to, might as well copy that exactly the same. Command C, put that in there, Command V. Now the only difference here is it's not a label, it's entry. And we don't want it placed on top of the current label. We want to change it a bit. So let's move it over. Let's go 350. So we're moving it to the right. This is the x-axis. So if this is at 200, 200, 200x, 200y, this is going to be at 350x, 200y. So they'll line up on the y-axis, but this will be over to the right a little bit more. Okay, so there's our entry box. Now we want to kind of have a button at the end of that as well. So let's put a button in, and again, same pattern. Button equals TK dot capital B button. Then we do our brackets, window, comma, and on our button we do want to have some text. And our text needs to be, this is the words that are written on the button. Let's put show. That'll do. Let's put show. And we want to have, this one has to do something, all right? So this one, you can't just have a button there that says show and it doesn't do something. So we're going to have to give this a command, all right? And the command can equal to, let's get it to show underscore name, and I'll explain that in a minute. So this show name, that's what this button is going to do, right? So we better make something happen here, a function that runs show name. So let's go right up the top here, back before the window, and let's just define a function up here, show name. So when this button is clicked, it'll jump up here to this function and it'll do something, and we'll do it in a minute. We'll decide what it does in just a minute. I'll finish the button first. Canvas dot create window underscore window, and we want to put this on the same x and different x, same y, so 500x, 200y, and we want it to be a window equals button. Okay, so you'll see those three things have a really similar structure. The first one's a label, TK label. Second one's entry, TK entry. Third one's button, TK button. And then I've given them a little bit of different information for each of them. And then essentially I've stuck all three of them onto the canvas. Right, now, what do we want to happen? We want, if this says enter your name and then the user enters their name in the entry box and then we click show, we want to show the person's name. So we've got our function up here called show name. So if we've got show name, let's go and get the information from the entry window first. Let's go and get that information. So whatever the user typed, let's go and get that. So we call that name equals entry.get. So we're getting that information from the entry box. And let's put this on the canvas. Let's configure this item. Item config. Now we better work out what we want it to look like. All right, so this thing's going to jump again to somewhere else. Name text, comma, and then let's put text equals name dot upper brackets close bracket. Okay, so I better explain this. We're going to go to the entry box and get whatever the person's name is. We're going to put it onto the canvas and we're going to use this style. Now we're going to have to build this style in just a second, but this is what our name is going to look like. The style of our name we're going to put onto the box. We'll do it in name text and it's going to be uppercase. It's going to be capital letters, okay? Now, if we're going to create some style here called name text, we better make the style down below here. So let's go down. Let me just move my page a little bit. Go to here. Now, I better make some style for this text. And we've got to call it name underscore text. So that's what the variable was called. And let's put it on the canvas dot create underscore text two brackets, and let's start off with its position. Now, I don't want to put it next to these ones, right? I want to put it under these ones. So I'm not going to make it 200. I'll make it maybe 350, but I also don't want to put it right over next to the button. I kind of want it more centered in the screen. So let's go 400, 350 is the location of what it's going to be. Now the text, we've already got the text, but we do need to tell it it's going to have text in there. But at the moment, we're just going to say don't put any text in. What it's going to do is going to get the text from here, right? It's going to get the text from this show name and it'll put it into there. But at the moment, we need to say it will have some text, just not that. Now, let's give it some font. Copy that, put that there. Now, I don't want it to be the same size as everything else. I want it to be much bigger. So let's make it 128 and let's make it bold. Okay, so we've got some big text, and I better make sure that I give it a color as well. So let's go, let's make it fill equals white. Okay, fill equals white, and then close the brackets. I think that's it. I think I've done everything there. And now I just got to run my window, right? So I'm just going to go window dot main loop. Close brackets. Okay, so if you've seen my videos on making a simple GUI, you'll know this is the start of it, this is the end of it. We can put on labels, entries, and buttons. We've done that. We've put our image in the background here. That was the main purpose of this video. We've put it all onto a canvas rather than using a pack method. We're using a canvas method, and we've put it all onto a canvas, and we've also made it so that it runs this. If you click the button, it runs this little function which gets the text, sends the text down here to the name text to get the style of the text, and it puts it on the screen, right? So this canvas create makes it come up on display on the screen. I think I've got it all right, so I'm going to hit save and I'm going to run it and see what happens. And remember, my image is in the same location as my background. Run module. No errors? Oh no, I've got an error. So I've probably spelt something wrong. Yeah, look, I've put photo image with a small I, and it's saying it should have a capital I. So let's go back and fix that. So photo image in here has to have a capital I. And like I said in other videos, errors are okay. It teaches you the mistakes you've made. Let's run it again. All right, so now we've got another error. Create text, did you mean create? So I've missed an E out on create text somewhere. So probably down here, there it is, create text, save it, run it again. Name bold is not, it should be in inverted commas, right? So a lot of these little things, they matter, right? So the inverted commas down here for the bold, that really matters, right? So let's do that again, run message. Here we go, here's my image. And I can see my label, and I can see my entry box, and I can see my button, but I'm missing the background image. So there must be something else missing. Let's go back to the code and have a look. Okay, so we've got a little error here, and I've worked out what it is. I've actually missed a line out. So here, this is a really super important line. I've got my canvas ready, I've got my photo ready, I've got everything ready, but I need to actually make sure that I'm bringing all those things together, I'm putting it on the page. So I'm going to say canvas create underscore image in brackets. Where do I want this? Now we've talked about the X and Y axes here, but I want this to fill the whole screen. So I want it to start in the top left corner. So I'm going to put 0, 0, and then I'm going to say image equals, which image am I going to get? Well, I'm going to get this one, which is called BG photo, right? So I'm going to say BG underscore photo, and then I better put it as an anchor point. Where's it going to start? Even though I've said 0, 0, I want to make sure that I've got that anchor point correct. So I'm going to start it in the northwest corner of the page. You think about a compass. North is at the top, south is at the bottom, east over here, west over here. So if I go northwest, I want it to start in the top corner of the page. So I'm anchoring it in the northwest corner of the page. So even if the screen is moved and changed around, this will start in the northwest corner of the page. So again, it's okay to have errors as long as you can go through and find them and work out what there is. This is the line that I missed. So I've got it ready. I'm going to close that little window so we don't see any of the old errors, and when it runs, it'll give me new errors. So if I go run module, no errors, and here's my file. Right now, it says enter your name. There's my label. Here is where I enter my name, and then here's my button. They're all on the same y-axis, but they're on different positions in the x-axis. And that show button, I could move it a little bit closer if I wanted to, but that's okay. Now let's check if the function worked. So I click here, if I type the word Nick, and I hit show, there you go, in big letters, the name Nick comes up on the screen. Let's say I put someone else's name in just to test it. And Yeze, let's put Yeze in there and hit show. And yeah, look, that works as well, all right? So this is how you could make your GUI with the image in the full size in the background, with a label, with an entry box, and with a button that does show. This is the code here. It's not very long, but it works and it looks pretty good.